Hello, everybody. Welcome and thank you for joining us this afternoon for our second presentation in our Latino Education Model series. Today, we are joined by Dr. Carmen Arellano, who will help us to explore the three pillars of the Latino education model. They include high touch, high tech, and high support. We will have time at the end for question and answer, but feel free to enter a question in the chat during the presentation if you should think of something you'd like to ask, and we will address it after Dr. Arellano's presentation. So thank you once again for being here to present with us today, Dr. Arellano, and with that, I will turn over the floor to you.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is an honor for me to present on the interconnected pillars that makes the Latino educational model possible. And as Jennifer has introduced me, I'm Dr. Carmen Arellano. I'm alumni of this institution. I have also served in several functions as an adjunct faculty, resident faculty, chair and program director of psychology at one point, active dean of academic affairs. So it is an honor for me to be able to speak about these interconnected pillars that make St. Augustine College what it is. At this point. Alrighty. So let me just speak about the three pillars. The first pillar, which is the high touch. And the high touch is a pillar that refers to providing students with a culturally affirming atmosphere, the Latino representation, and also the bilingual education among faculty and students. And I will explain and show you some examples about each particular pillar. The second pillar, which is the high support. The high support pillar describes a more flexible, accommodating approach for Latino non-traditionals, and this is very special for the non-traditional students who may benefit from additional connection, from guidance, affordable tuition, accessibility, and assistance during the transition to undergraduate life and throughout students' undergraduate career. And lastly is the third pillar, the high tech. The high tech pillar is defined by access to more affordable, accessible, and flexible modalities of learning and how to employ modern technological tools for the student. So let's just speak a little bit about the first pillar, the high touch. And again, you know, the high touch pillar makes it possible to create community and the bilingual accommodations technically and pedagogically required to serve students who speak a common language, and in our case, is Spanish. Our model is culturally affirming atmosphere, meaning that our students, if I can say, our students are free of microaggressions. Latino, particularly, I need to say Latina women are exposed to microaggressions either from work, from other institutions. So here at St. Augustine College, we like to believe that we are free of that because we feel that we belong here as Latinos, especially as Latina mothers and students. We feel that this is a home for us. Also, as Latinos, in research states that the Latino individuals are intellectually inferior. And I'd like to believe and demonstrate that that is not so. That maybe in some parts, some students or some individuals, because of the lack of knowing English, they might be classified as intellectual inferior, but they're not. Once the individual knows English, the individual is able to be successful. Also here at St. Augustine College, and very strong of our Latino educational model, is the Latino representation, with our professors being of similar background, of some part of Latin American, whether it might be Colombia, Argentina, but we have a lot of similarities. And as a student, I mean, as an alumni student, I can remember that, and I can, how can I say, make reference to that. Also, the strong to our model is the bilingual education, with our curriculum in a language that students understand while simultaneously learning English. And this is one of our strengths. I would like to see that this is probably what makes our high touch pillar our strength. And given our name, St. Augustine, if I can tell you a little bit of the history of St. Augustine. St. Augustine was a bishop, and when he was a student, he needed to learn new material in Latin. And for him, it was frustrating having to learn new material in a language that was new to himself. And our founder, Dr. Carlos Plazas, gave St. Augustine the name of St. Augustine because he felt that students that we can relate to St. Augustine because we are learning new material. Let's take, for example, psychology. We have to learn new terminology in a language that is not our own. So that's where we get the name of St. Augustine, that to make it better for us and easier, we can begin our education in Spanish, learning new terminology in Spanish, and slowly transition to all English material, which is one of our strengths here at St. Augustine College. And eventually, like I mentioned, transition to an all English learning environment and graduate with that and prepare us to further education. So how do we implement the high touch pillar? Well, here at St. Augustine College, we are very aware of the students' cultural and educational background, that we come from similar backgrounds, but different backgrounds in a way. That some of us might have more education from our native country, and some of us may not have a lot of education behind us, and we might need to take, for example, the GED in order to continue our education. Also, maintain close professional relationships with students. Our students here at St. Augustine College, being non-professional, we like to refer to our faculty not only as our, say, teachers or professors, but more as mentors and instructors. And that's how we see our professors, more as our mentors. Also, our Latino educational model provides a collegiate culture, a variety of experiences. Our students have been exposed to travel abroad experiences to other Latin American countries, such as Cuba. Our students have been exposed to doing humanitarian work in Haiti. Also, since the pandemic, we have been conducting a weekly rosary bilingual, English and Spanish, and this is something that we do every Friday. Also during Lent, we do the Lenten Stations of the Cross. This is something that we did all in Spanish. During the month of October, we have the Domestic Violence Awareness Month. We have a one-day workshop where our students have access to gaining extra points if they attend our workshop or conference. Also, in the month of March, we have the International Women's Day, which is March 8th. And also we have a conference, or we have a get-together for our students. We also have had exposure to what we call the Psychology Day, where, again, our students have a chance to present, do poster presentations, or present some of the work that they have done during their bachelor experience. We have other projects such as the Blanket Project. We also have the Student Appreciation Day, which is something that our students enjoy because they get to get together with other students, and they also have an opportunity to present one of their other skills, such as dancing or singing or saying a poem to the rest of their colleagues. And more special is the convivio. The convivio that we have the last day of class or second to the last day of class, where all our students have to have the opportunity to bring a dish and share with the rest of the class. And sometimes this is new to a lot of our faculty who are not exposed to this convivio. And this is something that our faculty is very proud. Our EdChamp faculty are very happy to be able to share with their students in the convivio. And what else? We have the part of the implementation of the high touch pillar. We have the bilingual accommodation, again, where our students begin their education in Spanish, and then slowly they transition to an all English environment. They have to, once students take English 109, then they are ready to begin with all their courses in English. In terms of marketing efforts, about 60% of our marketing efforts are directed to Spanish-speaking media outlets. About 40% is directed to other outlets to ensure diversity. Also, the promotion of our Latino educational model within our own community. And as I mentioned earlier, the average age of our student, primarily of our non-traditional student, is about 33 years old. Also, we are starting to recruit students from high schools, and we have been very successful with that. And this is where we are also transitioning from a non-traditional population of students to a more traditional college age population of students. The next pillar, the high support. And this is something that as an alumni, I have had nothing but support from St. Augustine College. So in the high support, we take into account the students' life circumstances, the cultural context, the past educational experiences, the gaps in learning, and providing solutions reflective of this understanding. And, you know, we have to take into consideration in terms of the gap in learning that, you know, a lot of our students, because they come from their native countries, they don't have an opportunity to go to school right away. And maybe they have to wait years to, you know, find a job and then eventually go back to school. And that gap may cause some conflict in learning, getting used to learning again. So here at St. Augustine College and with our Latino model, we take into consideration that, and in order to provide better and high support to our students. So how do we differentiate between a traditional student and a non-traditional college student? Your traditional student goes to college right after high school. That student might work 8 to 15 hours a week. Very different from our population. Our non-traditional college students, their parents, they might be single mothers. They might have 1 or 2 jobs. They might have to support their own parents. They might have to send money to their parents or relatives back in their home country. So this is what makes our non-traditional college student more resilient, if I can say that, because the many roles that that student has to take in order to complete a college education. And this is, again, one of the strengths of our Latino educational model, being able to provide that extra support to that student who has many other roles, and not only being a student, but serving many other functions at home as well. And just some statistics about our Latino population. Poverty, which is a multi-layered impact. The acknowledgement of Latino socioeconomic status, where we lived, we take into consideration the whole context. Approximately 62% of our Latino children live at or near poverty. About 66% of Latino students have at least one parent who is born outside of the United States. 20 to 33% are low-income Latinos who live in a household where no adult has a command of English. Also, many of our students or Latino children, they live or they might be living in unsafe, impoverished, and unsafe neighborhoods. And that's something that we take into consideration even when we make our own schedules about what might be the best time to end courses in a particular neighborhood, because we care. We care for the safety of our students. One other statistic important, among the Mexican immigrant fathers, they have less than 8 years of total education compared to 33% of mothers who have high school diplomas. And again, this is according to research. Part of the pillar, the high support, we have some educational disparities that I'd like to comment on. As I mentioned, according to research, Latinos have a tendency to score lower in reading, math, and science. Well, we take that into consideration when we are trying to support or when we make an effort to go that extra mile to provide extra support to our students. Also, according to research, our students, the Latino population, they have made improvements in completing a high school education. Typically, our Latino population, they go to work after high school graduation. They go to work for a couple of years. Makes it sometimes harder to return to college. And we are trying to make that possible, that transition. We are trying to make that possible for our traditional as well as for our non-traditional students. Another characteristic of our non-traditional population, they are about 25 years and older. They're financially independent. And as I mentioned, they have dependents not only of their own children, but their own parents. Also, a struggle is might be for students, their academic expectations, where some of our non-traditional college students are trying to compete with those who are non-traditional. And they want to have good grades, so that creates some stress that all the responsibilities that they have, they want to be able to do good. Again, that creates the stress, but we make it possible. We take into consideration how we can assist our students to be able to finish with good grades. Also, one characteristic of our non-traditional is that they like to interact with faculty rather than their classmates. Sometimes before, especially for the student who are older, they prefer to interact and form, if I can say, relationships with their professors who might be older, and they feel more comfortable speaking with. Also here at St. Augustine College, our Latino and very important of our Latino educational model is that we are conscientious of tuition and we make it affordable. We have to take into consideration that many of our students, they work not only to support their own children, but again, to support their parents, their siblings, and as I mentioned earlier, they have to send money back to their home country. Also important to our Latino educational model, we take into consideration work schedules. And so we try to have our schedules around our students' work schedule, so it doesn't cause a conflict. And that's something that we have taken into consideration when we worked in the Latino forming or creating the Latino educational model. According to research, 300, and this is not a typo, 300% of increase in Latinas that are completing their high school education or graduating. And this is a great increase between 2013 to 2017. Also, an important of our faculty and adjunct faculty is that our students consider our faculty to be charismatic Latino teachers. They feel comfortable and they feel that our faculty pay attention to our students. Also, in our educational model, we take into consideration that our students are responsible and they want to assume responsibility and to be of their own earnings. Also in our model, the need for additional guidance. And this is where, as professors, we go that extra mile, being able to reply to emails, to answer emails, to provide sometimes our own tutoring to our students. And also, as I mentioned earlier, be mentors more than teachers for our students. And also one of our strengths of this model and of St. Augustine College is having advisors and counselors who are Spanish speaking. So how do we implement the implementation of our high support pillar? Something new to this model is the learning facilitators, and this is one of our strengths. Our learning facilitators are experts in the field. Many of them are graduates of our programs, graduates or the program that they are now providing a learning facilitation to students. Also, the learning facilitators assist students with registration, with financial aid, and also with scholarships that might be available to the students. One other important aspect of the Latino educational model is our developmental courses. One important course is the CAC 101. In the CAC, students learn about the student life. They learn, and this is prior to the beginning of their courses, they learn how to manage Canvas, and also they learn tips about admission. Also, a strength of our model is tutoring. With the majority of our tutors being independent tutors, and they are able to provide tutoring in English or Spanish. If our students are having any challenges with computers, they are able to go to tutoring for that, to assist with that. And also in tutoring, they are supported and provided with greater assurance and encouragement. Okay, other characteristics of the high support pillar is the writing across curriculum, or the famous WACs, which are a strength because our students write a one-page and they learn to write an introduction, to write a body of a paper, and to write a summary. And this is one of our strengths to our focus in the WACs or assignment, writing assignments. Also, new to our model is the accelerated learning and the new implementation of an 8-week learning model. We transitioned from a 16-week to an 8-week. And research has demonstrated that when students focus for a longer time in one particular subject, they do better. Also, the 8-week model gives students the opportunity to finish or to complete 5 terms per year instead of the 3 terms per year. So this allows the students to complete their careers in a shorter period of time. We are also introducing a certificate program where the students can, with 30 hours of credit, in taking into consideration the first 5 or 6 classes of their career, they are allowed to receive a certificate that can allow them to find employment even when they are in their associate's degree. And also, once they transition to the bachelor's program, they are able to also receive a second advanced certificate with another 30 hours of that. And this is optional. If students do not want to, say, invest the time in doing the certificates, they can just do their degrees, the associate degree, the bachelor's. That this is something extra that students can apply and have that exposure to receiving certificates. And again, our tuition is affordable. Students can, if they are full-time students, after the 12 credit hours, they can continue taking courses up to 18 credit hours for free. They only pay for the full-time tuition. And also, our students are eligible for the SEC Promise Scholarship at the beginning of registration. And then the third pillar, the high tech, which we are working on making that better. And it's one of our, if I can say, one of our strengths, having to transition to an online model a year ago when we were forced to close the school and take all our learning online. And I like to say that we are doing very well. We are doing very well, and our students, they like the online approach because they save money in gasoline. But with this model, we are hoping to come back to a hybrid. Our students also miss the campus and they want to be able to return. And we want to be able to be here and support our students to face as well as online. So the third pillar, the high tech, it seeks to employ high-tech interventions for students to demonstrate an understanding for their financial constraints and significant responsibilities, while also preparing them to enter the workforce with a strong command of modern technology. So in terms of technology access, since COVID, only about 60% of our Latinos had jobs where they can do, or were they able to do their telework from home. Latinos were overrepresented in COVID-19. They work more of the essential jobs. So we want to be able to provide our students with higher technology platform that they can continue utilizing even now after COVID-19. And typical of our Latino students, and in terms of affordability, our students, or our population of students, are not used to having school loans. They prefer to pay for education or to receive, the financial aid that they are entitled to receive. Also, we were able to lend our students a laptop so they can continue, or they were able to continue with their education from home. Also, in our Latino educational model, we were able to provide training for our faculty as well as our students. The flexibility is also our strength of our model, to be able to go to school from home, attend to the family, and also be able to work and be able to attend courses here in campus or online. So the implementation of the high-tech pillar, we want to make sure we want to be able to come back face-to-face. We also want to be able to provide our education synchronous online, as we have been doing, and also asynchronous, where our students can look at the recordings at whatever time they are available. If they want to look at recordings at 1 o'clock in the morning, they are able to do that. So this is going to be, again, the strength of our model, being able to provide face-to-face education on campus, synchronous online, and asynchronous, where our students can look at the recordings and be able to stay on track with their education. And all three models will continue to be very student-centered and focus on the needs of our students. Also, part of the high-tech pillar, we have transitioned to digital books, and for a fee of $100 per term, our students have access to all the textbooks online and all the textbooks that they need for their courses. Another supplemental instruction is the use of ALEX, which is an assessment and learning in knowledge spaces. Our students are able to utilize it for practice, question and answer, use more of the critical thinking, and this supports the student once they have to take exams. Also, with our Latino educational model, we are able to provide training opportunities, as I mentioned, for faculty, as well as for our students in learning how to navigate a Canvas. Right now, we still have the GoToMeetings, so our students and our faculty are able to take training for this, and the assistance is provided in English as well as in Spanish. And I think that's it. That's it for the three pillars. So I want to thank you. And as you can see, the three pillars, if I can just go to the first one so that you can see how the three pillars connect with each other. And that is the strength of the Latino educational model, where the connectedness of the three models. So if there are any questions, I can provide answers.
Yes, thank you very much, Dr. Arellano, for providing us with all those examples of the way that we are attempting to live our new Latino education model. If anyone has any questions, you may address Dr. Arellano directly by unmuting your microphone, or else type your question into the chat, and we'll read it from there. So please take the next few minutes to take questions from our audience.
Dr. Arellano. Dr. Arellano.
Oh, yes. It's very difficult to hear you. Let me turn up the volume. Okay.
This is Carmen Criollo. This is Carmen Criollo, and I have a question. Well, one of my concerns in this new model is that, I feel that sometimes students, since the new model, especially the online courses,
I'm trying to Dr. Yo-Yo.
Yes.
Okay.
Can you hear me? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, now?
Yeah, now I can hear you.
Okay, I apologize for that. Okay, yeah, my concern is that with this new model, my concern is that it's very attractive and the students like it. But my concern is that sometimes I feel that they are overloading themselves. And that's a big concern that I have because, I mean, we know that, I mean, historically, our students have been always working at the same time. I mean, they are not full-time students like other regular students. So I noticed that, I mean, especially lately, they continue with their activities and also they are overloading themselves with online courses because quotation marks, it is kind of easier and sometimes they don't have the time and we cannot just wait until the weekend comes because sometimes they say, okay, yeah, it's easier for me to take the class during the weekend, right? That is one concern that I have, that we need to be very careful with this because I don't want them to overload because, I mean, they cannot stop, of course, they cannot stop working. And when they take too many classes because, I mean, we are able to put those schedules that are appropriate for them. Sometimes they may not do well.
I understand. I understand that, Dr. Croyo, and I know this has been a concern, not only for you, but for the rest of faculty, especially with that option that we have, that students are able to take 18 credit hours, up to 18 credit hours, which pretty much that's for your traditional student, that student that is just going to go to school. But as I mentioned, we also have to be careful, and we are mindful of our non-traditional student that even with 2 courses might be a lot. Yes. If we were careful when we designed, when we worked with this model, that we need to take into consideration that our students, as I mentioned, work, they have family. What I see, and this is going to be a strength, is the asynchronous model, where our students are able to look at the recordings that our faculty, the recordings of our classes that our faculty are able to save, and then students can go back and look at the recordings as many times as they need to, in order to understand, the material for the class that they miss. For right now, as I mentioned, it's not only us, but many other institutions, many other universities, and we are trying to be competitive and stay competitive with other universities, that they are switching to this 8-week model. Some institutions have a 7-week model in order to be able to fit 2 terms for spring, 2 terms for summer, and 2 terms for fall. Our model is still 8 weeks, but we are conscientious that we need to be mindful of who our students are. And, at this point, I'd like to say that we are open. We are open for recommendations that might make it better for our students. But as you mentioned, our students like the opportunity of of being able to go online. Because they no longer have to drive, to the campus, even though we want to be able to open all our satellites for students to be able to return to campus. But at this point, recommendations are open.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your question. Anyone else?
Dr. Carmen, thank you for your summary and the information you provide to us. I have, I don't know, maybe recommendation. Now with the pandemic we have right now with Corona, too many negative impact in our life, but in the same time was a new opportunity for us, maybe for the school, if we look to the degree of the people knowledge in using the internet, the computer. Is there any plan for us in the school to maybe considering having English second language program right now provided online, and having learning center for maybe our kids to strengthen their language in Spanish or in English too? I know most of the kids right now, they're able to use the internet, and that's opportunity for the school maybe to focus on something like providing a program exactly for Latino, taking the opportunity of the technology.
Okay. I just have a question. You say for our kids, are you saying the children, our kids, or our students?
Yes. Yes, the kids. Like, let me be honest with you. In my situation, like my kids, they're speaking English. Even I speak with them Arabic. I don't know exactly if that's the same issue with the Latino. Maybe I find out from what I ask some people, because I'm looking to have a program just for me and a few friends to provide our our kids. I mean. With someone they teach them Arabic, for example, because I have weakness of my kids, they never respond to me if I speak in Arabic. So maybe that's the same issue with the Spanish. So if we're able to provide our kids exactly with the Hispanic community with more ability to learn about their culture, about their language, will be a good thing too. So I don't know if you get my idea about.
Yeah. I get you, and I just want to go back and say something that, you know, with everything that happened with the pandemic, and it's very sad, everything that has happened. But in many ways, a year ago when the college was closed, it kind of pushed us to go online. I still remember the times when going online was impossible, where we felt that St. Augustine College was never going to be able to transition online because we just did not have the means. But I think, and thanks to you and all of you professors and adjunct faculty, we were able to transition, and our students were able to continue and graduate and finish their degrees. And thanks to you, a year ago, you had 2 weeks to learn Canvas, to learn GoToMeetings, and it was possible. And we made it through. And we can say that the pandemic was very bad, but in a way, it gave us the opportunity to advance in something that we thought it was impossible. It was very possible, and it's still possible. As an answer, and I don't have the answer to everything, this this conversation is being recorded, but I would definitely want to take this to somebody else, as you are mentioned, as extracurricular. It's an extracurricular effort, as you mentioned, for our children to be able to learn Spanish. I think it's something that we should be able to do. I am not making any promises at this point, but it's not my function. But I think just like you are having the opportunity to bring this into our awareness, we need to continue bringing this and see if it's possible. I think it's a great idea. I think it's a great idea, and it will be offered as an extracurricular curricular activity, something that our institution can provide. So I want to thank you for your recommendation, for your contribution to something that will make us better as we move forward to our future. So thank you again.
We do have a comment here in the chat. I'll read this. It's from Dr. Anahel Garcia. Dr. Arellano, I would like to congratulate you for being a concept developer of this model with your team, as you were the interim dean of the Office of Academic Affairs. The 3 pillars are the compilation of all academic and administrative aspects of anyone's life and involvement in SAC. They are created to provide guidance. Everyone has worked, is working, and will continue working using the model. The better we do our job, the application of the model improves. There is a direct relationship between quality and implementation of the model. What are your personal reflections of the model? What would you have done differently if you had the opportunity to go to the beginning of this idea called the Latino education model?
That's an excellent. What have I done different? I'd like to say that, you know, these 3 pillars have a history, and I don't think I have done it any different. When I met with colleagues back, when did we started this? We started this back in March, beginning of April. We thought about a mission. We thought about what makes St. Augustine what it is right now and how we want to make it better. I think I would have kept these 3 pillars. You know, these 3 pillars are our history, with the high support, the high touch, and that we are moving along and getting better with high tech. The support, I can think of the many years back in the 80s when I was a student here. The same support that I received from, you know, our founders back then, we provide that same high support to our students right now. So would I change that? No, none at all. The support that I provide to my students when I was teaching is because I kept in mind all the support that I was receiving from my professors back then. And it became my own mission, my own passion, to be able to do to others and provide and give to others what St. Augustine provided for me at one time. When St. Augustine was a home and is a home, and that's one of our strengths, being able to come back, because many of our students, they want to be able to, again, interact with one another. The high touch, what makes us so special, being able to communicate with other students who are like ourselves, being able to have professors who are more similar to me than dissimilar to me. So would I have changed anything about the 3 pillars? Maybe I will add another pillar, the high maintenance. Why would I call it a high maintenance? Because I believe that once you are part of St. Augustine, you never leave St. Augustine. Maybe you leave St. Augustine to do something better, but to do something different, but you always come back. And that's what I would call the high maintenance. How do we provide that reaching out to our alumni as something that I feel committed to doing, being able to reach out to alumni to return to St. Augustine College and complete their bachelor's degrees if they haven't done so. So if nothing else, I will add a 4 pillar, the high maintenance. But thank you for your question, and I would have kept, because these 3 pillars, and especially the high touch and high support, are history. Those are our history. So thank you again. I hope I was able to answer in some way your question. Other questions or comments? I'll take comments. Oh, all right.
All right, it looks like we're wrapping up here. Thank you very much again, Dr. Arellano, for sharing your insights about the Latino education model with us today. Just a reminder to join us on Thursday at 2 o'clock when Dr. Anthony Garcia will address the 3 underlying foundations of the Latino education model: knowledge, excellence, and innovation. Thank you for joining us today, and we wish you a great rest of your afternoon.